So let's talk about the Ghostkeel Battlesuit, the stealthy weapon of war that most of the time isn't going to be able to be shot if it's greater than 18 inches away. Hello and welcome back to Auspex Tactics, where today we're taking a look at another Tau Empire unit, and I thought it would be fun to take a look over the Ghostkeel datasheet, one of the battlesuits that really got some quite interesting special rules when the new book dropped. Essentially, in the lore, these are the big stealth suits, using most of the technology that is available on the regular size stealth suits, but just supersizing it onto a vehicle level battlesuit, able to strike with some seriously heavy firepower from a new and unexpected angle at the enemy. In the video, we'll take a look over its datasheet, talk about any obvious buffs and synergies, and finish up with a few thoughts about using the Ghostkeel in-game and its competitors. Starting out, the Ghostkeel is an elite's choice for Codex Tau, 160 points at base, and along with the Ripside is one of the Battlesuit vehicle keyword units, and it has Flyer and the Jetpack keywords. Its stat line saw a fair few improvements compared with the previous model in the 8th edition Codex. It's got a 12-inch move, weapon skill 5+, ballistic skill 4+, strength 6, toughness 7, 12 wounds, 3 attacks, leadership 9 and a 3+ save. In particular, the extra wounds and extra toughness will really help keep it safe, as well as of course its very nice stealth field rules. To represent its cloaked nature on the battlefield, it gets stealth drones. There's 2 of them, and while one of them are alive, the unit can't be targeted from greater than 18 inches away unless it happens to be the closest target, which often means the Ghostkeel is just a really good choice for plonking down on a far-flung objective, as it means that your opponent's not going to be able to deal with it from long range. They'll actually need to send a unit to take that objective. Unless there's literally nothing else from your army that they can see, they're just not going to be able to shoot you off it most of the time. As well as that, it gives a native -1 to hit against ranged attacks, always nice, and gets the scout style forward deployment rule where it can set up anywhere in the midfield greater than 9 inches away from the enemy. I guess that's quite a nice rule to put in combination with Master of Kauyon. Could potentially mean that you could line up a fairly devastating alpha strike and then pull back if your opponent looks like they'll be in a position to wipe you out in the first turn. In general though, I think as forward deployment units go, it's maybe not going to want to be as aggressive as maybe stealth suits. Its weapons can have some fairly decently long range, and as it's so heavily rewarded from being shot from a long way away, you do maybe get rid of one of its main bonuses if you set it up super close to the enemy. In any case, as battlesuits go to take out, it is really quite tanky and annoying to shift. Lots of special rules to get in the way. Weapon-wise, the Ghostkeel is armed with a fusion collider, 24 inches, heavy 3, strength 9, AP -4 and damage D6. As with most melters, you get an extra +2 when it's within half range. A fairly scary anti-tank profile there. Or the cyclic ion raker, which is 36 inches, heavy 6 shots at strength 7, AP -2 and damage 2, and if you overcharge it gets +1 strength and +1 damage. Really quite a nice general purpose well-rounded profile there at strength 8, AP -2 and damage 3, that does give you the chance of suffering some mortal wounds. Out of the 2, I think I do prefer the cyclic ion raker. It's just a more generalist profile that still competes very well against most vehicles with the fusion collider, and the longer range I think works quite well with the Ghostkeel's 18-inch targeting ability. Then as a secondary weapon you either get 2 Tau Flamers, 2 burst cannons or 2 fusion blasters, all of which are really quite close point defense type weapons. The fusion blasters cost a little bit more than the other 2. I think weirdly enough out of those I'd be actually most tempted by the Tau Flamers. 2 Tau Flamers give you 11 auto hits at strength 4 if you're within 12 inches. That's enough to toast an enemy light infantry squad that's trying to come after the Ghostkeel. Never mind what its primary weapon system does. Finally, if you do get caught in melee, it strikes with its Ghostkeel fists, going up to strength 7, AP -1 and damage 2, though because you're hitting on 5s that's hardly going to be very threatening. Maybe punching to death one infantry model if you're lucky. Finally, we come to support systems. You get a drone controller included for free, which could be handy for saviour protocols or buffing some gun drones theoretically. And then you've either got an early warning override, or you can upgrade to a flare launcher for +15 points. The override is a free option and it gives you a 5+ overwatch and overwatch for free if you need to. That could combine really quite nicely with the Tau Flamers. Getting free overwatch on those is very nice, never mind what the Raker or the Collider do. But I think that flare launcher is really quite interesting. 15 points for a 5+ feel no pain against ranged attacks that are greater than strength 7. That's going to give it yet more annoying survivability at range, when most of the things that are going to take this down efficiently are going to be strength 7+. The way that a 5+ feel no pain works generally gives you an extra 50% survivability, so I guess you could theoretically see it as a Ghostkeel having effectively 18 wounds against anything that's strength 8 or more from range. For the 15 points, I really don't think that's too bad, though obviously that's going to be a flat defensive upgrade. It's not even going to work in all scenarios when you're charged, for example, and it's already a unit that has kind of iffy damage output compared with a lot of Tau units, and stacking more points into defense isn't really going to help with that. I don't really think it's a bad upgrade, but I feel like a fair few people will skip out on it just because defense isn't really what this thing is lacking. As a vehicle battlesuit, it isn't going to have quite as many access to buffs and synergies as things like crisis suits or broadsides, but there's still quite a lot of fun and powerful special rules that it can lay down. Montkar and Kalyon could be particularly handy for close range damage buffs if it does decide to go super aggressive. Extra AP from Montkar in particular helps out those flamers and things, could help it jumping towards objectives on the flanks and maybe dealing with any enemy units that have already managed to get there. Stratagems wise, there's a lot on offer. Saviour protocols could be good to negate a save you just failed. The failsafe detonator will give you a few mortal wounds on a target that might just have killed you in combat, could be handy situationally. Backup AI is pretty good if you have degraded and your ballistic skill is worse. Wall of Mirrors is a kind of handy one if you're near a board edge and then you can come back in the enemy's turn greater than 9 inches away from their models. That one seems like a reasonable one to throw down late game and strike at the enemy from an unexpected angle, maybe get into grips with some key enemy objective holders perhaps. Strike and Fade allows you to shoot and then potentially move again. It could allow you to jump behind terrain or just get you more movement towards an objective maybe. And for 2 command points, Ionized Shock Field can temporarily stun a unit. If you hit a really big synergy enemy target with that, then it means they can't take any advantage of friendly auras. Could be really nasty on the right target, but I think that's going to be quite expensive for most units that the enemies are going to be fielding. Sept-wise, a few things are kind of helpful. Tower Farsight Enclaves will chip in with damage for their rerolls, always good on the main weapon, and I think Borkhan is perhaps particularly worth a mention here. An extra 4 inches is really relevant on the Fusion Collider and any of the small arms, particularly as this thing might want to be hanging back a little bit more than some of the other units. Borkhan adds a little extra layer of defense as well, which certainly doesn't hurt. Interestingly, Ghostkills are one of the units that can take prototype systems as well. It's only them, the Crisis Charspheres, and the Commanders. The ones on offer for the Ghostkill are the EH Disruption Suite. It's 30 points for a once per game aura of +1 command points to a bunch of stratagems for nearby enemy units. Personally, for 30 points, I just don't really think that that's all that worth it. You'd have to be jumping him into the middle of the enemy army, which isn't really what you're going to want to do. And even then, even if it does cost your opponent a command point or two, I think that's still going to be only borderline worth it for 30 points worth of investment, which you could be getting other units with. For 20 points, you can buy an early warning override Ghostkill, the intercept rule, so it gets to shoot enemy units that come on within 12 inches. Again, one of those rules that's kind of annoying to have to commit to pre-game, as once it's down, the opponent can just avoid it if it's meaningful, or just tank the damage if it's not going to be. In any case, Ghostkills as a battlesuit do have access to that repulsor impact field stratagem, which really I guess I should have mentioned in the stratagems section. That's 1 command point for -2 to charges, and already gives you at least a fair bit of insurance against deep strike charging units from the enemy lines, and anything else that's trying to make long charges on the board. Finally, for 15 points you get the internal grenade racks. That's the one where if you move over an enemy unit on a 2+, they suffer D3 mortal wounds. Kind of handy enough I guess for skirmishing with enemy objective takers in the midfield, but again to make use of them you really have to screw with your positioning a fair bit, and for a worthwhile upgrade I think you're going to need to use them multiple times per game, something that I think is going to be slightly hard to do with the Ghostkill's movement and what it's going to want to do otherwise. In general, I'm just not enormously convinced that the Ghostkill is going to want to take any of those. I feel like the 15-point flare launcher that it can get on the support systems section, I feel like if you are going to upgrade the Ghostkill with anything, that might be well one of the best choices. Overall though, I do think that the Ghostkill is really quite an interesting unit. The 18-inch no-shooting thing is really quite powerful. Provided your entire army isn't hidden behind ruins or something, then it means that your Ghostkill is likely not going to be targetable for quite a lot of the enemy units on the board, meaning that it could be a good choice to sit on your home field objectives or go to any of the ones in the far-flung corners of the board, hopefully where it's just going to be able to sit around for a fair bit of the game, raining off ion shots and your opponent not being able to do anything much about it. From there, if it manages to survive into the late game, then the redeployment ability if it's near a board edge could be significantly powerful. Popping up from nowhere to deal a whole bunch of ion and flamer shots could be really quite nice to toast some unexpected enemy objective holders. In terms of damage output, I think there isn't really much question that the Ghostkill isn't the best source of damage within the codex. The main weapons aren't too bad if you do manage to expend a marker light, The Ion Raker is better if you're willing to overcharge against just about every target. The Fusion Collider only comes into effect against really high save things or things with toughness 8 or better. With a longer range, I'd go for the Ion Raker. You're expecting around about 2 dead marines, 5 or 6 wounds to a toughness 7 vehicle, or about 4 wounds to toughness 8 on a turn-on-turn average. So decent generalist damage output that's going to chip away at the enemy army. Overall, if you did want to field ghost kills, and maybe take 1 or 2 of them and not go crazy on spamming them, and use them as a bit more of an annoyance threat, one that's going to hold down bits of the board with that stealth field well, but accept that it's not going to be one of your main damage dealers of the army, and save that for the more shooty units, things like crisis suits, broadsides, storm surges, hammerheads, and everything else. Still seems like they could be a very annoying unit for the enemy to have to deal with. So let me know your thoughts on the Ghostkeel down in the comments below. Have you Tau commanders had much luck with it on the field since the codex dropped? Looking forward to hearing about your experiences down in the comments. If you've enjoyed the video, feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics, where I'm sure we'll have a fair amount more Tau videos on the channel over the next few months. And if you have been enjoying all the videos, I would just like to mention one way in which you can help support the channel, which is my Element Games affiliate link down in the video description below. Element Games is a UK-based discount retailer. They give 10 to 20% off Tau and any other Warhammer, and if you do click the link before buying something, a small amount goes to help support Auspex Tactics without costing you any more whatsoever. Can just be a way to help support the channel if you were thinking about picking up something anyway. For people over in the USA, there is also an Amazon affiliate link down there as well. That one works in much the same way. Click the link, buy literally anything off Amazon, and a small amount goes to help support the channel without costing you more. Can just be a way to help out if you were picking up something anyway. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.